This new year, why not let Audible expand your life by listening? Explore over 1 million audiobooks, podcasts, and exclusive Audible originals that'll inspire and motivate you. Tap into your well-being with advice and insight from leading professionals and experts on better health, relationships, career, finance, investing, and more. Maybe you want to kick a bad habit or start a good one. If you're interested in learning how to master your emotions and hearing scientifically backed advice for using your emotions as a tool, may I suggest Shift by psychologist and bestseller author Dr. Ethan Kross? Trust me, listening on Audible can help you reach the goals you set for yourself. Start listening today when you sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com/Wondery. That's audible.com/Wondery.
This is Gem State, the trials of Chad and Lori Daybell. This is episode 10. In episode 9, we found out that Lori was guilty. The verdict came after the jury deliberated for just about 6 hours. If you haven't heard that episode, I definitely recommend going back and checking that one out. We had a very interesting conversation with Ryan Black, local defense attorney, who was able to shed a lot of light and give a lot of insight into what might be going on in the defense's mind, how they deal with a case of this magnitude, and what it's like just on the day-to-day with clients, with guilty or innocent clients. It was a very interesting conversation. This time we have another one for you. Our reporter who has been in the courtroom every day of the trial, Angela Kerndl, is here to talk to us just about what it was like and what she experienced. Thanks for being here, Angela.
You're welcome, of course.
Excited to have you. You were there every day. So a lot of the reporting that we did, actually all of the reporting we did in this podcast was directly because of the reporting you were doing. And so thank you for all of your hard work on this. That was awesome.
Of course.
What was it like? Paint a picture for us. We didn't have cameras in the courtroom. Nobody really knows, aside from the verdict. What was it like for you just when you show up in the morning? What's happening? What are you doing? What's going on?
I guess when we show up in the morning, there's lots of cameras, of course, from news organizations across the country, local news organizations. So we always get shots of all the players walking in the courthouse. Sometimes we'll hear from Larry Woodcock. He would give us sound almost every day. He was very generous with that. Trying to think. Once we saw all the players head in, we go through security and make our way up to the courthouse or the courtroom or to the viewing area to see things play out.
So you were in the overflow room or the viewing room, as you called it, most of the time. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What was that setup like? I'm just picturing a row of chairs and a TV. Is that pretty close? Like, what happened?
Yeah, there's like a big projector screen at the front of the room, and then there's a couple of other monitors further back in the room. You have a view of Lori and her attorneys, very far away, wide shot view of them, not super easy to see what she looks like from there. And then you see the prosecution and the judge, and not the best view from down there, but
gotcha.
Yeah.
And so you couldn't see the jury, is that right?
No, you couldn't from downstairs. No,
from downstairs. Got it. Okay, so obviously, if you were in the courtroom, you could. When you could see Lori, whether you were in court or on the monitors, what was her demeanor? Was she pretty relaxed? Was she stoic? What was happening?
I think. From the times that I saw her in the courtroom, she seemed, pretty relaxed. A lot of times, though, she will try to turn her back to the gallery, so it's not super easy to see her. Or she'd be looking down, taking notes. So, but other times you'd see her smiling, chit-chatting with her attorneys, and looking pretty relaxed and
Interesting.
But definitely the last day when the verdict was read, she was very serious. She had a straight face the entire time. She didn't shed any tears or anything, which was very different than the entire rest of the rest of the trial, where she didn't look like all that serious, I guess.
Yeah, interesting. Now, you said she didn't shed any tears. Was there any emotion betrayed when?
No emotion that I saw, yeah.
Wow.
Once it was over, she just had her arms crossed, and when she left the courtroom, basically, yeah, not showing any emotion that I could tell.
Now, what was the emotion in the courtroom like when
the verdict was read?
Yeah.
So I was sitting right in the aisle right next to Kay and Larry Woodcock. So they were crying the entire time. I'm sure very relieved once they kept hearing the guilty verdict, guilty, one after another. They were holding hands with each other, holding hands and crying. I saw other people in the courtroom too, once it was all over, leaving with tears in their eyes, people who don't have any connection to the case at all, other than they're there and they want to see what happens. So definitely emotional once the verdict was read.
I bet. Now, one of the things with this trial is there was a lot of pretty gruesome detail, right? They gave a lot of evidence, like when Detective Hermosillo testified about finding the bodies and what that was like, or the autopsies.
Yeah,
that was really tough. What was that like for you? What was that like in the courtroom? How did you process all of that?
It was very hard to see. When Detective Hermosillo was sharing the evidence, sharing what he saw when the bodies were recovered, it was very hard to hear, very, very sad. And seeing the images of JJ, how he looked when he was found was just very heartbreaking. Really, really hard to see. You're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm looking at this child,
Yeah.
And I know one of the days that those photos were shown, Kay wasn't there, but Larry was, and there were sketches of him sobbing the entire time because it was just so hard to see. And he said, there's some things you cannot unsee. So later on, when they showed more of the autopsy photos, we didn't get to see them as members of the public, but the jurors had to see them, even more graphic images than we had seen previously. And yeah, he and his wife were not there. I'm sure very relieved that they didn't have to see that and don't have to live with seeing that for the rest of their lives.
Right. Oh, man. Yeah. I think one thing that might get overlooked is the impact on the jury. I know there's already kind of been a few interviews out there from a few different sources with jurors. I know we're working on our own right now, but the impact of seeing, because they had to look at each piece of this, that my heart goes out to them, because you really, you get wrangled into this thing. Now you're here for 6 weeks, 7 weeks, from jury selection on. Yeah. And now you're having to look at this really awful stuff. Certainly our thanks goes out to the jury for their service in this case, because that was a big undertaking. Now, one of the questions that I had with Ryan Black, who was the defense attorney here last week, it felt as though there was this mountain of evidence that the prosecution brought in. They had 63 witnesses testify. They had at least that many exhibits, right? The defense, on the other hand, had no witnesses. They had no evidence. They had no. There was it felt lackluster and I don't mean this to be critical of them as much as maybe it's just my own lack of understanding, but it seemed, at least from where we were sitting, like the defense was maybe doing the best with what they could. What was kind of your impression of the defense and what was happening? What was going on there?
I think I don't know if it was all that surprising. They don't have the burden of proof like the prosecution does, so that's not really their job. And I think they tied together what they could pretty well in their closing arguments with what they had.
The defense, even when they were on cross-examination, I think there was 2 times where they really kind of pushed back on someone to say, wait a minute, that's not what you said in grand jury, or that's not right. The rest of the time it was really a pretty kind of pretty basic thing. And so I was just curious if anything stood out to you as far as like...
Yeah, I think they had already won in a sense because the death penalty was off the table. So they had already kind of,
That's a big win, right? And they got that done pre-trial. I know one thing that, I guess if they were really prepared for a death penalty trial, from what I hear from anonymous sources, from what I've heard, they were just as surprised as anybody else that the judge ruled that way. And so if you were prepared, that was just a month before trial started. So if you had prepared this whole time for a death penalty case, and then now it's no longer a death penalty case, you don't exactly have a bunch of time to now, well, let's start over with a new defense strategy, right? And so I know that definitely has played a big role in there. What are some other things that you noticed as far as like when you were in there? What's a question I haven't asked yet?
I guess what else we found interesting was there were so many people, not even just media reporters and whatnot. There were just so many women mostly who are just interested in the case that have no real connection at all. They just want to see, they've been following the case for years, and they want to see Lori found guilty. So they're there every day, like a handful of women who were there every single day, not getting paid to be there. They're not like producing content for YouTube or podcasts or anything like that.
They're not doing a documentary.
They're just there because they want to see what it's like to see her in person. They want to see what they think is justice for those kids and Tammy Daybell. So that was very interesting to see. And it's pretty interesting to me that mostly in the courtroom, like there's a handful of reporters, but then everyone else is mostly just interested in the case. They want to be there. Just, not getting paid to be there, but they're there.
Did you get the chance to talk to any of those women?
Oh, yeah. And everyone we've talked to had their mind made up about Lori.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
So there was nobody there that was like, let's just see how this plays out. They all had their minds made up, the ones that we talked to at least. Right.
And I guess it was interesting that the courtroom seats fill up within a minute. Like it's nearly impossible to get a seat in the courtroom unless you're like on the little button like seconds before 8:00, because there's all these people who have so much interest.
Right. So we should explain for our listeners that don't know what you're talking about. We had to reserve a seat the day before, and they would go live at like noon or whatever it was. And by 12:01, the seats were all gone. And we had to do that for your seat too. The media did not get any special treatment there.
No. Yeah.
And so that's what Angela's referring to here is, if you were not. So those people who were there, they really wanted to be there.
Yeah. Some people there every single day since opening arguments, just because maybe they're retired or they don't work. And then other people traveling, 6 hours or more from Utah, other places, taking time off work just so they can be there in person. We had one guy we talked to from South Africa. He planned his trip basically around this trial, his trip to the States around this trial. So people from all over the place were there because they wanted to see what was going to happen.
No kidding.
Yeah. Well, he had a YouTube channel, so he's interested in other cases here in the States that he was following also. But still, he planned the trip around being here for the trial, which was super interesting.
Wow. Yeah, no kidding. Interesting. I know this has been really hard on a lot of the reporters even who are there. I know I've heard from a reporter who's been doing court coverage for a long time, who's leaving court coverage after this case. It was enough. How are you feeling? This was a lot to deal with.
I'm feeling a lot better now that it's over, but it's definitely very draining compared to other kinds of coverage I'm used to doing. Very exhausting.
Right. Yeah. You just got off the Capitol beat and then went straight into to covering this. So I'm sure.
Yeah, just draining. Lots more sleep than I usually get. So
yeah. Definitely. Is there anything you want to add?
Oh God, I don't know if there is anything else. I think we covered a lot of ground.
Yeah. Oh, I've got one more question, and then we'll see how you feel about it. But based off of how the evidence went, you were there. Let's put you in the shoes of the jury. Do you think the jury got it right? Not that you have to say like, yeah, she was definitely guilty, but like, do you feel like?
I think with the evidence they had,
there was kind of one way this was
right.
This was going to go.
There was just so much evidence, so I think it would have been hard for them to go any other way, or I mean, it would have been probably very devastating for a lot of people if it went the other way.
Definitely,
or if it went any other way than it went. Yeah.
Well, and now we know going forward, Arizona has given notice that they intend to extradite Lori to have her tried for Charles Vallow's murder. Also the attempted murder of Brandon Boudreaux. So this is not really, this isn't done.
Yeah.
So moving forward, there's still kind of a lot of pieces to come out. We here at Gem State, we will continue to provide updates as more information comes out. Angela, thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for your reporting. You did an excellent job.
Thank you.
This is Gem State, the trials of Chad and Lori Daybell. You can follow along with us at idahonews.com or at CBS2 Boise on all social media platforms. We will continue to regularly update this podcast as new information comes out, as the sentencing comes up. We still have the sentencing that we're facing, and that's 2 months from now?
I think or about 3 months is what they're expecting. They still have to do a pre-sentencing report for Lori, and the judge estimated it could take about 3 months before that's complete, and then they'll be back in the courtroom to set a sentencing date. Gotcha.
And so this is mid-May when we're recording this right now. So 3 months from now. So we will be back as the sentencing comes out. We will also kind of keep tabs on everything that's going on with Arizona and have regular updates here. And then we will also update this podcast as well as Chad Daybell trial stuff gets underway. So make sure you are subscribed so you get updates as we continue to move forward through the rest of this process. There's still a lot going on there. Thank you for following along. This is Gem State.